I used to think chain emails were harmless spam until one killed my best friend. That sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? I know how it sounds. Like some relic of the early internet, those cheesy messages we all used to get. Forward this to 7 people or you'll have bad luck for a year. I used to laugh at them. Hell, I deleted them without even opening most of the time. But this one wasn't just another dumb piece of digital folklore. It was something else. Something I should have left untouched. I still remember the night I found it sitting in my inbox, the subject line staring at me like it already knew my name. I won't repeat the exact words here. Not yet. But the moment I saw them, I felt my stomach twist the way it does when you know you've just made a mistake you can't undo. That's the thing about the internet. Nobody tells you that the real curses don't come wrapped in dusty grimoires or written on blood-soaked parchment. No, they arrive disguised as notifications. A ping, a new message, a subject line glowing in bold. Digital curses. And once you open them, you can't unread them. You can't go back. I know you probably don't believe me. I wouldn't blame you if you didn't. I didn't believe it myself. I thought it was just coincidence, bad timing, some elaborate prank. That's how we all think, right? We rationalize the strange until it feels safe again. But safety is an illusion. And the more I tried to explain away what happened, the deeper I sank into something I couldn't control, because this wasn't just spam. It wasn't just a chain letter. It had rules, terrible rules that I only learned after it was far too late. And the cruelest part, those rules don't care whether you know them or not. They only care whether you follow them. I'll tell you one thing, though. I broke a rule without even realizing it. My best friend, he broke them all, and the chain doesn't forgive. It collects. If you're listening to this, I need you to understand, this story isn't just a confession. It's a warning, a desperate attempt to make sense of something that still doesn't make sense. Maybe if I share it, someone else can survive where we didn't. Or maybe by sharing it, I'm just dragging you into the same nightmare. But to understand why I'm writing this, I need to start with the night my friend forwarded me that message. Before all of this, before the fear and the paranoia and the sleepless nights, it was just me and my best friend doing what we always did, wasting time online. We had this little ritual, late-night calls, scrolling through garbage links, sending each other the dumbest memes we could find. It wasn't glamorous, but it was ours. You know the type of nights I'm talking about, the kind where everything feels lighter because you're running on caffeine and inside jokes. That's how it started. Just stupid internet rituals that we never thought twice about. I remember one night in particular, sitting in front of the glow of my laptop screen. My friend sent me a message. "Dude, check your inbox. I sent you something hilarious." I groaned. "If it's another one of those Nigerian prince scams, I'm blocking you." He laughed through the mic. "Nah, better. You remember those old chain emails we used to get, like, forward this to 10 people or you'll never fall in love? Or the classic," I chimed in, "if you don't forward this, a ghost girl will appear at the foot of your bed at 3 a.m. We both cracked up. That was the tone of the night, sarcasm layered over nostalgia. We were making fun of an era that had long since passed, mocking the fear tactics that never scared us when we were kids. "Come on," he said, grinning. "These things are just for bored kids, right? Some dude in a basement trying to freak out 12-year-olds. And he was right. That's all it ever was. Spam designed to prey on superstition. Nothing more than cheap thrills. Except, this one wasn't like the others. I didn't know it yet. But the email he sent me didn't belong to the same category as those laughable ghost stories or fake curses. It looked the same on the surface. Grainy font, dramatic threats, vague warnings. But there was something beneath the words. Something I wouldn't recognize until much later. Back then, though, we treated it like a joke. We riffed on it for nearly an hour. I pretended to be terrified, gasping into the mic. He read the lines in an over-the-top horror voice, breaking down into laughter halfway through. At one point, I even said, "Man, if one of these things was real, we'd already be dead 10 times over." We thought we were untouchable, safe behind screens. What's funny, no, what's horrifying, is how quickly safety can vanish. How easily a joke can turn into a trap. I'd give anything to go back to that night, to shut down my laptop and refuse to open that inbox. But hindsight doesn't change anything, because the email sitting there waiting for me wasn't just another bad luck curse or cringy ghost threat. It was different. It was patient. And it was watching. It started with a joke, but the punchline was written in blood. The email arrived like any other, subject line in bold, sender masked behind some forgettable jumble of letters and numbers. But the second I opened it, I knew something was wrong. The first thing that caught my eye was the timestamp. It didn't make sense. According to my inbox, the message had been sent tomorrow, not in a poetic way. Literally, date stamped 24 hours ahead, down to the minute. I blinked, refreshed the page, even checked my system clock. Everything else was normal. Only that message insisted on existing in a future I hadn't lived yet. The body of the email was no better. At first, it looked like the usual chain letter garbage. Bold red text, dramatic warnings, threats of what would happen if you didn't forward it. But the formatting kept shifting. Words stuttered, lines repeated out of order, characters overlapped like someone had been typing too fast for the screen to handle. And then there were the references. Halfway down the page, it mentioned a traffic accident that, at the time, hadn't happened yet. A location, a time, even the name of a street. I didn't recognize it, but my friend did. "Hey, that's near me," he said casually, like the email predicting a collision outside his neighborhood was no big deal. I wanted to close the tab, right then, but he insisted we scroll down, and that's when I saw it. 2 words, capitalized, surrounded by broken text and static symbols like corrupted code, the archive. I don't know why those words chilled me more than anything else. Maybe because they didn't fit. Most chain emails stick to ghosts and curses, but this, it hinted at something larger. An organization, a collection, a place where names and events were kept. Like we were reading a fragment of a ledger we were never supposed to see. "You're overthinking it," my friend said when he heard me go quiet. He was laughing, already mocking the phrasing. "Forward this or the archive will claim you. Come on, it's obviously a joke. Some creep on Reddit with too much free time." But I couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't the intended audience. That the email hadn't been sent to us, it had leaked. My friend scrolled further down, chuckling at lines about shadows watching from corners, about blood on the keys of those who disobey. To him, it was cringeworthy roleplay. To me, it felt like reading rules carved into stone. And here's the worst part. There were rules. Hidden between the nonsense, buried under the static, I caught fragments that looked like instructions. Commands almost, but I won't repeat them. Not yet. You'll understand why later. For now, all I can say is that once you read them, they don't leave you. They lodge in your brain like splinters, waiting to punish you the second you slip. Told him to delete it. He smirked, dragged the message into his trash folder and said, "See? Problem solved. Chain emails aren't real." But when I tried to do the same, my mouse froze. Just for a second, but enough to make my pulse spike. The cursor hung there, jittering, as if someone else was controlling it. Then it released, and the message slid into the trash like nothing happened. We both laughed, nervously this time. It was easier to pretend it was nothing. Easier to shrug it off than admit something had shifted in the room, in the air, in the digital glow of the screen. We laughed. We deleted it. But the email didn't delete us. The first follow-up came at 3:17 a.m. I know the exact time because my friend texted me a screenshot with the caption, "Bro, WTF?" He was the kind of guy who barely stayed awake past midnight, so the fact that he was up, actively checking his inbox, already felt off. The screenshot showed the same cursed subject line as before, except this time, it wasn't static. It had changed. The original phrase had rearranged itself into something new, something that addressed him directly, using his name. At first I thought it had to be a prank. Maybe the sender had malware, scraped his info somehow, or maybe my friend had given away his details on some shady forum. It's just phishing, I told him, trying to sound confident. Like the most elaborate phishing attempt ever. Delete it and move on. But he didn't buy it, and neither did I, because the subject line kept changing. Every time he refreshed his inbox, the wording twisted slightly. Sometimes it was nonsense. Other times it was unnervingly specific. Phrases about things he hadn't told anyone. Jokes he thought only the two of us shared. And that was only the beginning. A few nights later, he called me in a panic. My screen keeps flickering, he said, like only when I'm in Gmail. Everything else works fine. But the second I open my inbox, it's like my monitor's glitching out. I told him it was probably a hardware issue. Loose cables, maybe. Or some graphics driver bug. But then he added something I couldn't explain. The flickers aren't random, he said. It's like words. Just for a second. Like frames spliced into a movie. I keep seeing my name. Over and over. I laughed nervously, trying to brush it off. You've just been staring at the screen too long, man. Your brain's filling in the blanks. But in the back of my mind, I knew. I'd seen something too. Little shivers in the corner of the text when I'd hovered over that first email. Like it was trying to spell something before snapping back. The next warning came in the form of corrupted files. He sent me a video. His desktop was littered with random documents, each one labeled with a string of numbers. When he opened them, the contents were garbled symbols, lines of text that looked like code. Except sometimes, in the middle of the chaos, a single sentence would stand out. You can't stop it. The archive remembers. 24 hours. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe his computer had a virus. Maybe he'd clicked a bad link. But even then, viruses don't predict things. They don't tell you what's about to happen. And that's exactly what started happening. The emails began dropping little hints, phrases about spilled drinks, broken glass, unexpected visitors. Harmless, vague stuff. Until it wasn't one morning. He called me, his voice shaking. It said I'd cut myself making breakfast, he whispered. And I did. Right after I read it, the glass slipped out of my hand and shattered. I told him coincidences happen, that the human brain loves patterns, even when none exist. But I could hear in my own voice that I didn't believe it. Then came the line that still haunts me. He called again in the middle of the night, quieter this time. It said my dog would get out, he murmured. And 10 minutes later she was gone. I didn't even open the door. I had no answer for him. None, so here's my warning to you. If you ever see the subject line of an email change by itself, don't convince yourself it's a glitch. Don't chalk it up to coincidence. By then, it's already too late. At first, I thought it was just paranoia, until the accidents began. The first real accident was small. So small that if it had stood alone, I wouldn't even be telling you this story. My friend called me one morning, voice still groggy with sleep. Dude, it said I'd spill my coffee, and I did. But how could it know? I laughed, tried to brush it off. You're telling me a cursed email predicted your Starbucks mishap? Congratulations. You're haunted by the most boring ghost ever. But he didn't laugh with me. He went quiet. The kind of quiet that tells you someone is staring at something, replaying it in their head. It's not just that, he said finally. It wrote the time, down to the minute. I didn't notice it before. But when I checked the email again, it matched exactly. That was accident number 1. Accident number 2 came later that week. He was driving home, streets mostly empty, when his brakes failed at a red light. He managed to swerve onto the shoulder before hitting anyone, but he told me the whole time his inbox notification kept popping up on his phone. He swore he hadn't touched it, hadn't opened anything. But the notification was there, flashing like a warning beacon. When he finally checked, there it was, a single line, time-stamped 10 minutes earlier. Your car will not stop. I wanted to believe it was coincidence, that maybe he'd seen the email after the fact and convinced himself it had been there before. The brain does tricks like that under stress, except he forwarded it to me. The timestamp didn't lie. The third accident was worse. He was at work when a light fixture came crashing down from the ceiling, shattering on the desk inches from his head. He showed me the message later, above you. Just 2 words, nothing else. That's when I stopped laughing, because 1 or 2 coincidences, you can dismiss them. But 3, 4, 5, each one lining up with the words on the screen before the event even happened. You can't keep calling that random, not anymore. I started paying closer attention. He would read me the lines as they came in, like some kind of prophecy he couldn't escape. A stranger will stop you. That afternoon, a man on the street grabbed his shoulder, swore he knew him from somewhere, refused to let go until a passerby intervened. You will bleed. He cut his palm on a shard of glass while taking out the trash. She will scream. His neighbor's daughter shrieked in the hallway that night when her doll broke in half. None of them were fatal, not yet, but the pattern was undeniable. And the more we tried to deny it, the more the accidents escalated. Here's what chilled me most. The email didn't just predict, it punished. If he ignored a message, something worse happened within hours. If he deleted one without forwarding, the next would come harsher, more violent in tone. I caught on before he admitted it to me. You're not sending them anymore, are you? I asked. There was a long silence on the line before he answered. Would you? Would you dump this poison into someone else's inbox just to save yourself? And that's when I realized the system wasn't built on belief. It was built on compliance. Forward it or suffer. Ignore it, and the accidents get closer, sharper, harder to dismiss. It was training him like a rat in a maze, conditioning him with fear. I tried to comfort him, told him we'd figure it out, but my words felt thin, useless against the weight of inevitability pressing down on both of us, because every email was like a countdown. Every subject line a reminder that something worse was waiting just 1 click away. And then it stopped being accidents and started being murder. I knew something had changed the night he finally called me, whispering, as if the email could hear him. Normally he spoke loud, casual, joking even when he was scared. But that night his voice was thin and fragile, like someone afraid of being overheard. I can't keep this in anymore, he said. You need to know what it wants. What wants? I asked, though I already knew. The email. He let the word hang there like it was poison. At first, he didn't want to say more. He kept circling around it, muttering half-sentences, catching himself before finishing them. Finally, I pressed him, harder than I should have. You're scaring yourself, man. Just tell me what's going on. And that's when he whispered the rules. There are 3, he said, and I'm not even sure I should be telling you this right now. His voice cracked on the last word, but he forced himself to continue. Rule number 1, you have to forward the message within 24 hours. No excuses, no delays. If the timer runs out, something comes for you. I felt a chill slide down my spine. I wanted to tell him it was just another recycled superstition, the same scare tactic every dumb chain letter used. But the weight in his voice told me it wasn't superstition anymore. It was law. He swallowed hard, then whispered the next one. Rule number 2. Do not alter the subject line. Ever. Even accidentally. Even by typing a single letter. The subject is its anchor. If you change it, it knows you tried to sever the chain. His words came faster, like he was afraid he wouldn't get them all out before something stopped him. And the last rule, the worst one. His breathing turned ragged. Never speak of the email aloud. Not the words, not the rules, not the names. Talking about it feeds it, makes it spread. His voice dropped so low I could barely hear him. It punishes you for speaking, for warning, for breaking the silence. I sat there, frozen, every muscle in my body telling me this wasn't a joke anymore. It wasn't just a creepy message with spooky language. It was a system, a set of commandments wrapped in digital skin, rules that didn't care whether you believed in them or not. Listen, I tried to say, keeping my tone steady. It's just spam. Clever, sure, but it's not magic. You don't have to let it get in your head. But he cut me off. You don't get it. It knows when I break the rules. It's not about belief. It's about obedience. Every time I try to resist, something happens. The accidents aren't random. They're punishments. The line went quiet except for his breathing, and then he added, almost too soft to hear, I think it wants me to choose. You either keep spreading it or let it finish me. I didn't know what to say. What can you say to someone confessing they're being hunted by an email? Every rational part of me screamed that it wasn't possible, that this was all coincidence, paranoia, a breakdown waiting to happen. But somewhere deeper, buried under logic, was a smaller voice that whispered, what if he's right? I didn't want to believe him, but the terror in his whisper didn't sound like acting. It sounded like someone who'd stared into something alive and been seen in return. Promise me something, he said suddenly. If it ever comes to, you, don't repeat what I've told you, don't even say it out loud. Promise me. I hesitated. My throat was dry. I promise. And that was the truth. I did promise. But promises don't matter when the rules are already broken. Because by then, he had already broken every single rule. I can chart the last day of his life like a timeline burned into my memory. 24 hours. Every hour more twisted, then the last, every second dragging him deeper into something neither of us could stop. It started with a call at 9 a.m. His voice was sharp, panicked, like he'd been awake all night. It's changing, he said. The email header, it's not text anymore. It's faces, just flickers, but I see them. Like photographs, but wrong. Their mouths are open, like they're screaming. I told him it had to be fatigue, hallucinations. I tried to convince myself of it too, but he swore it wasn't his imagination. They blink at me, he whispered. They're looking right at me. By noon, he messaged again, this time about his speakers. He said they'd turned on by themselves, playing static. But beneath the hiss, he could hear something. A voice, distorted, stretched thin, like someone speaking underwater. It's reading my inbox, he said. It's reciting the emails back to me. At 2 p.m., he swore he received his first reply. That's what he called it, a reply. Only the sender wasn't someone living. The name matched his grandmother, dead for 3 years. The subject line, still waiting. The body was blank. By 4 p.m., his messages stopped being calm. He started sending me rapid bursts of texts, half-finished sentences, typos everywhere. They're stacking up again. Timer's faster now. It's skipping hours. He claimed the emails were arriving every 60 minutes, exactly on the hour, each one heavier, more demanding. At 6 p.m., he called me in tears. It's in my photos, he said. He'd opened his gallery, and half his pictures were corrupted, his face smeared into static, his eyes replaced with black voids. In others, there were strangers standing in the background, faces he didn't recognize, all staring straight at the camera. At 8 p.m., he tried to fight back. He unplugged his computer, smashed his rotor, even pulled the battery from his phone. But the messages kept coming. He showed me. His screen was blank, powered off, yet faint lines of text kept bleeding across the black glass like scratches. By 10 p.m., he stopped making sense. His voice was thin, trembling, breaking into sobs. I forwarded it, he admitted, hundreds of times. I sent it to junk addresses, fake accounts, anything I could think of. But it's not satisfied. It knows they're not real people. That was the first time I felt true terror. Not just for him, but for myself. Because if it wasn't satisfied with fake names, then maybe it would look closer. Maybe it would look at me. At midnight, he went quiet for almost an hour. When he finally answered, his voice was hollow. It's giving me options now, he said. It says if I send it to someone close, someone it hasn't touched yet, it might let me go. My stomach dropped. Don't, I said immediately. Don't you dare. He laughed bitterly. You think I want this? You think I want you? Dragged into it? But it's in every corner now. Every screen. Even the clock on my microwave glitched earlier. It spelled out the subject line. I can't keep this to myself anymore. At 2 a.m., he said something I'll never forget. They're here. His voice shook. Not in the screen anymore, in the room. I can see them out of the corner of my eye. Every time I blink, they're closer. Do you hear me? They're real now. I begged him to leave the house, to go anywhere, but he only laughed again, a broken, hopeless sound. It doesn't matter where I go. It follows. It travels. By 4 a.m., he was whispering again. It's not accidents anymore, he murmured. It's executions. It's showing me ways I could die. Every time I close my eyes, I see it. The email rewrites itself into obituaries. My name at the top. And then, at dawn, his final call. His voice was almost calm, as if resignation had settled in. I figured it out, he said. The chain isn't about bad luck. It's about collection. Every name forwarded becomes part of the ledger. The archive, remember? It's filling it with us, with me. I told him to stop talking like that, told him we'd find a way. But he didn't answer right away. When he finally spoke again, his words froze me in place. I have one last email to send, he said softly. One last chance. And I'm sending it to you. My blood turned to ice. I begged him not to. But once you hit send, there's no undo button. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the house felt like a countdown. Every vibration of my phone like a warning bell. I was still clutching it in my hand when the notification finally came through. It was 6:12 a.m. The subject line read, "If you're reading this, it means I didn't make it." For a long moment, I couldn't move. My thumb hovered above the screen, shaking. It felt like opening it would be more than reading. It would be accepting. Accepting that whatever had been haunting him for the past day had reached its conclusion. I tried calling him. No answer. Tried again. Straight to voicemail. At 6:25, the news broke. A car had swerved off the overpass near his neighborhood. Witnesses said it looked like the driver was fighting something, jerking the wheel, as though trying to push invisible hands away. By the time the car slammed through the guardrail, it was already too late. They didn't recover much. The official report would later list it as an accident, though one officer supposedly muttered to the press that it looked more like the man had jumped. But I knew. God, I knew. Because at the exact moment his car went airborne, my inbox pinged again. Another email. This one wasn't written by him. Not really. His address was in the sender line, but the formatting was warped, the letters stretched, the timestamp impossible, marked EU000, and the subject, the same 3 words from before. I didn't make it, against every instinct screaming at me. I opened it. The first line was his, I'm sure of it. If you're reading this, it means the chain has me. But after that, the voice shifted. The sentences fragmented, bending into commands, numbers, symbols, and something else. Instructions. Rules. Things no sane person should ever commit to memory. I won't tell you what they said. I won't risk putting them into words here. All I can say is the rules I thought I knew. The forwarding, the subject line, the silence. Those were only the surface. There was something deeper written between the lines. Like the email itself was alive, whispering in code. And then came the final line. His words again. Or maybe just what the chain wanted me to believe were his. You're next. I sat there paralyzed, the glow of my phone screen painting the room pale. I didn't even realize I was crying until I tasted salt on my lips. My best friend, my stupid, reckless, sarcastic best friend, was gone, taken by a joke we used to laugh at, and the punchline wasn't his death. The punchline was the delivery, because while he was plummeting off that bridge, the chain made sure his last act was pulling me in. The message arrived the instant his heart stopped beating. He didn't just die, he was collected, and I was left holding the inheritance. That's why I'm writing this now, because the email is in my inbox. Grief is supposed to come in waves, they say, but mine didn't. Mine came in pings. Every few minutes my phone would buzz. Even in those first hours after the accident, when I was still telling myself there had to be another explanation, when I was still calling his number just to hear it ring, the sound wouldn't stop. Ping, ping, ping. Each time my stomach clenched tighter. I thought maybe it was people reaching out, offering condolences. But when I finally looked, it wasn't texts. It wasn't missed calls. It was emails from him, same sender, same address. His name staring at me from the top of my inbox like he was alive again. Except the subject lines weren't the same as before. They were worse. The first one said, "We're not done." The second, "You inherited it." By the fifth, I stopped opening them. I couldn't. My hands shook too hard, and the few lines I'd glimpsed burned behind my eyes like acid, because they had my name now. My full name typed cleanly into the body of the messages. Not a placeholder, not a glitch. My name. At first, I told myself it was just recycling old data. Maybe my friend had mentioned me somewhere. Maybe his address book synced in ways I didn't understand. But deep down, I knew that wasn't it. The chain didn't just reuse names. It adapted. It knew me. I tried everything. Deleting the account, factory resetting my phone, even smashing the SIM card, thinking if I cut off the line, I could starve it out. But that wasn't how it worked. Because the next morning, when I opened my laptop, a device I hadn't even powered on in weeks, the screen came to life on its own. Inbox. 99 plus unread. All from the same address. All from him. I clicked one, just one, and wished I hadn't. The timestamp wasn't real. Somewhere years in the future, a date that hadn't come yet. And the subject line? Timer reset. That's when I realized the rules had changed. When it was after him, there was a window. 24 hours to pass it along. A cruel, twisted deadline that gave you just enough rope to hang yourself with. But me, it didn't wait 24 hours. It didn't wait at all. Every time I tried to breathe, another ping. Every time I blinked, another subject line changing, reshaping, rewriting itself like it was alive. We see you. Forward now. No escape. I thought about deleting everything, cutting myself off completely. Maybe vanishing offline would make it lose interest. But the moment that idea crossed my mind, another message appeared, as though it had been listening. The subject line read, "Don't even think about it." That's when I knew. I wasn't dealing with code, or spam, or even a curse. I was dealing with something that could hear me, read me, anticipate me, and if it knew my thoughts, it already knew my next move. I thought about deleting my account, but it's too late for that. If you've stayed with me this long, then maybe you're braver than I ever was. Or maybe you're just curious, sitting there in the dark with your headphones on, thinking this is just another creepy story on the internet. But listen to me. Really listen. By hearing this, by letting these words settle in your mind, you might already be part of it. That's how the chain works. It doesn't just travel through inboxes anymore. It's smarter now. It spreads through memory, through attention, through you. I used to think my friend was exaggerating when he said it could travel. I don't anymore. Because the moment you know the rules, the moment you let it carve its way into your thoughts, the ledger writes you down. And, right now, it's writing you. You're probably tempted to laugh it off, to shrug and say, "It's just a story." That's what we said too. We mocked the chains, made jokes, called them harmless. But tell me, do you really think a harmless email could kill a man? Do you really think I'd risk saying these words out loud if there wasn't something watching, waiting, keeping score? So here's what you can do, and it's the only thing you can do. Leave proof. Write something. Anything. A comment, a share, a sign that you heard me. Because silence is what it wants. Silence is how it knows you've given up. If you're still not sure whether this is real, check your inbox. Not later, not tomorrow, now. If you see it sitting there, the subject line twisted, the name familiar when it shouldn't be, do not open it, do not read it, and whatever you do, don't forward it to me.